What is up, everybody? Teacher Willy here. A couple seconds late because I'm having some problems with my tripod here. So if we're a little off, I'm sorry about that. Welcome to Aces English. Aces English is the channel where we usually do lives in Portuguese. Most of our content is in Portuguese, but once in a while we do these lives in English. And so today I'm going to answer all of your questions in English, and we're going to talk about how long it takes to learn English, which is a question that comes up very often in our lives and comments on videos and in almost everything that we do, classroom teaching and online, all of the online things. Most people want to know how long it takes to learn English, which is understandable because people don't want to think that it's going to be something that's going to take forever. Some people have been studying for a long time and they think it's not normal. When I answer this question, there are always three things that I talk about when I talk about how long it takes to learn English. And the first thing is it depends on your English learning ability. There are parts of the brain that are more developed in some people when we talk about language learning. It's a talent, just like learning to play the piano is a talent, learning to sing is a talent, learning to play sports is a talent. And we all have different levels of talent and levels of ability that are natural to us, God-given natural ability in certain areas. So the first thing that we need to realize is that there are different levels of talent that each of us has. Some of us have a much higher ability to absorb languages, to hear languages better than some others. Some of us have more difficulties, have more problems hearing the differences in vowel sounds, hearing the differences in sounds that we may not have in our native languages, and that is 100% normal. But this does affect how long it takes you to learn English. If you have problems with hearing differences in vowel sounds, if you have problems hearing the differences in sounds that may not be part of your native language, then it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for you to learn. It doesn't mean that it'll take a lot longer, but it does mean that you will have to work harder than someone who doesn't have those same problems. So that's the first thing, is your talent level. The second thing is that you need to remember that one of the important things on how much longer it's going to take you to learn is, where are you today? Have you just started? Have you been studying for 6 months, for a year? Did you start to study and then stop and then start again and then stop? So your current level of English is also something that is a factor in how long it takes you to learn, or how long it takes you to become fluent. So obviously, if you are intermediate, it will probably take you less time to become fluent than someone who started yesterday. But then that goes into the third factor, and the third factor is your desire, is your ability to stay focused and your ability to push through any problems or difficulties that will arise in your language learning process, because there will be days that are difficult. There will be days where you'll think you'll never learn the language. I have been speaking Portuguese for almost 22 years, and there are still days where my tongue doesn't want to cooperate with me, and I look in the mirror and I think, why are you still trying to speak this language? There are days like that, and then there are days where everything is going well. Someone says, hey, you don't even have an accent, which isn't true, but some people I think if they're being nice. But when someone says something like that, then I think, hey, I can speak this. So there are days that are ups and downs. It's just like a professional soccer player. Professional soccer player has games where he's amazing, and he has games where he's terrible. And it's just part of the trajectory of going from someone who isn't very good at something to someone who is world class. And that's the same thing that happens when we're learning a language, which is why it is so important that we know our why. What is your why? What is the reason that you want to learn English? Your why has to be strong enough to overcome any problems or difficulties that you will confront when you're learning a language. That is key. If your why is not strong enough, you will not learn a language. That's just the way it is. So it has to be something. I always tell my students on the first page of their English notebook, they have to put their why. And that why, they have to go back. When they have a day that they're wondering if they're ever going to learn, they need to go back and look at that why and remember, what is it? It needs to be, and that's why your why needs to be something like, oh, it would be nice. It would be nice, for most people, is not a why that is strong enough that's going to get them through the difficulties and problems that come. So my answer for how long it takes to learn English is every case is different. Every person is different, and it depends on you. I have never liked it when people say you can learn English in 3 months, you can learn English in 6 months, in a year and a half, you can learn English in 2 years, or it takes 7 years. You have to stay in our school for 7 years to learn English. I've never liked any of these because it tries to use a blanket time on everyone, and it doesn't treat everyone individually, which is truly, in my experience, there is no way to say that anyone can learn in X amount of months, days, months, years. It just doesn't happen. I haven't found the method yet. I hope to one day develop the method that will cover everyone, but at this point, for me to know how long it takes you individually, I would have to sit down with you and find out where you're at, where your talent level is, find out what your level is of actual English today, and find out if you have that desire, if you have that overwhelming desire and a why that is strong enough that you will be able to focus. And so that is the answer, is that it depends on you and it depends on some other factors. But specifically, and the strongest of these three and the most important in my experience is your desire to learn, and if your desire, your why, is strong enough to overcome the problems that will come. So I hope that helps anyone that is wondering. And if you've been studying for a while and you think it's taking too long, just keep in mind that it's ups and downs for all of us. I had a lot of ups and downs when I was learning Portuguese. We all have ups and downs in learning languages. There will always be people that are better. I remember feeling bad one time when I heard an American who was speaking behind me. I didn't know he was an American because his accent was so good. I thought he was Brazilian. I turned around and he was American. And I felt kind of bad because I knew that I didn't speak that well. But we can't compare ourselves to other people. We need to look at where we're at today and look to be better tomorrow, and look to be better in 2 days than we are tomorrow, and on and on and on, and compare ourselves to ourselves and not compare ourselves to other people. So thanks for coming. I'm glad you're here. Don't forget to give us a like, and that will help us get other people involved. Victor's here. Good to see you. Wilson's here. Hi, what's up, Wilson? Good to see you. Ladette, thanks for coming. Andre, good evening to you. Simone, good to see you. What's up, Fabricio? Thanks for coming back. Katya's here. Wesley's back. Wesley's always here. I don't even need to say Wesley's here because Wesley's always here. But his internet's not cooperating. Vinny's here. Hi, Vinny. What's up? Mastering a foreign language is never easy. You must keep on striving despite all the difficulties. I agree 100%. Thanks, Victor, for your input. I agree. Vinny agrees with me. Thiago's here. What's up, Thiago? Good to see you. So let's get into the part of your questions. I've studied, so don't forget, Fabricio, when you use the present perfect of something that's from the past until now, you need to use the past participle, and the past participle of study is studied. So you want to say, I've studied English for about 4 years, and I'm not fluent yet. And that's 100% normal. Because life happens. Sometimes we have to stop. Sometimes we can't focus as much as we want. And then sometimes other things happen like this. For a lot of people, the situation that we are in the world right now is something that gives a lot of us more time that we can focus on learning English or learning a new skill. Doesn't have to be English, it could be anything. I think it's important that if you do have extra time, that what are you doing in that extra time? Are you playing video games? Unless you know that's your job. If you're a gamer, a streamer, or whatever, whatever. I don't mean to judge in any way, shape, or form, but I think that if you're using this time for something positive, it's a great opportunity to do that. I've been focusing on our online course. I've been able to, we're going to very soon launch the third module of our course in Portuguese to learn English. It's something that I've been able to focus on because of what's going on, and I just feel great about it because it's something that would have taken a lot longer if it weren't for the situation that we're in and not being able to teach in person right now. Good to see you again. So here, Wilson, this is very interesting. I'm not a professor. So in English, because most of our people that are watching are Brazilian or speak Portuguese, professor in Portuguese is used for teachers and for university professors. But in English, professor is a university professor. I'm not a university professor, so when we're speaking English, then you would want to say teacher or the common the polite way in the United States would be Mr. and then the last name, but I don't prefer that. When I was teaching, I was a substitute teacher in the United States, and then the kids called me Mr. Wilson. But so what ends up happening a lot of times here in Brazil is they don't want to be so formal, but they want to use Mr., so they call you Mr. Willy or Mr. in your first name, which sounds even more strange than if they call me Mr. Wilson. So you can call me teacher or whatever you want to call me. Well, not whatever you want to call me, because some people want to call me some bad things. Elia Maria, good to see you. Thanks for coming. Fluency is also subjective. Yes, it is. To me, fluency is when you feel comfortable speaking a language. Very good. Yeah, and that's the problem too. And that's why I think the word fluency is thrown around a lot, especially in Brazil by schools, because it is so subjective. What is fluency? And if you look it up, I looked it up. In one dictionary, it said the ability to communicate well. Well, what is well? I mean, if you're able to go to the bathroom, get food, and not get hit by a car in a foreign country where they speak English, is that well? Or is well being able to share an idea about biochemistry, or what is well and how do you define well is so subjective that I've never liked the term fluency, even though once in a while I use it in my explanations. Okay, so let's go to your questions. What are your questions today? We have 17 people here. Great to see you. Thanks for coming. Don't forget, please, to give us your thumbs up and share us with your friends. I never feel comfortable when I speak to someone. Okay, so here I never feel comfortable because we use, remember Glassy, that we use the simple present when we're talking about habits or when we're talking about routines. So if you're talking about something that always happens, then you want to use the simple present, and you just want to take off that M and say, I never feel comfortable when I speak to someone. And I think that's common, especially for people who are a little more shy, who aren't so overt. I think it happens a lot with two different groups of people. People that are very shy and people like me who aren't shy but don't like to make mistakes. When I was learning Portuguese, when I first started learning Portuguese, I remember towards the beginning, I stopped talking for a month because little kids were making fun of me. And I don't like to make mistakes, and not because I'm shy, but because I don't like to be wrong. I don't like people laughing at me. And more so then. Now I don't care as much. I'm older now, and I don't care as much what people think. But at that point, when I was in my early 20s, I did care what people thought more than I do now, and so it was very difficult for me. So I think many people who have problems, who lock up, who aren't able to get the words out, fall mostly into these two groups, either someone who was very shy or someone who was very proud, which was my problem. I was very proud and didn't want to make a mistake. So that does happen quite a bit. Hello, Ataiji, good to see you. Teacher Willie, sometimes the word have, what happened? Okay, you might be fluent in certain contexts, as you mentioned. No problem, Glassy. People often confuse fluency with proficiency. Yes, we've had this argument, you and I, before. I don't want to go too much into it now, but if you look at the definitions of both, they're very similar. So I personally don't jive very much with saying that fluency and proficiency are two different things. I guess my problem is to think a lot before speaking. So here, and I have a video about this, it's actually the #1 video on the channel in English is gerund after preposition. If you look up Ace's English gerund after preposition, I did a live about this where we talk about in your sentence here, before, to think before. So before is a preposition, so you want to say before speaking, because before is a preposition. But yeah, and that's the thing. I've heard teachers say, we actually had one of our first teachers at the school who would always encourage the students, no, don't pause, just get it all out. I tend to believe it's good to think, and I don't think, depending on your level, I think that at the beginning you can start using more pauses. You can start thinking between words. I don't have a problem when my students do that. I think when you get to a certain point, it can cause problems with communication once you get to the intermediate level or the advanced level. But this teacher, at the beginning, was always like, okay, go, start the sentence and go to the end, don't stop. And I think that puts a little bit too much pressure on the students, and I think that can cause them to lock up as well. So I personally don't have a problem if someone wants to think at the beginning. I think it is better to think at the beginning and think through your sentence rather than stopping. But again, if you're someone who isn't either at an intermediate or advanced level, then I personally don't have a problem if my students are that way. I'm just like you. I hate making mistakes, or I hate to make mistakes. Yes, Simone is like me. There you go. Marcel, I think that it depends on the interest of the person who is learning. Absolutely. Yeah. If we're not, so we're talking about fluency is one thing. If we're talking about depends on the interest of the person who is learning, and that has to be. I think that's a very good point, Marcel. It's very important to know what your why. Again, to me it always goes back to your why. Why do you want to learn? Do you want to learn to study? Do you want to learn to get a better job? Do you want to learn to meet new people in other places? Why are you studying? Because if you want to learn to be an academic, do you want to study English and work in a university, either abroad or in the country where you're at? So if you want, for example, if you want to be an academic, you're going to study English that is very different than the actual English used when we talk about applied linguistics, which is the language that is used in everyday situations to communicate. That's where we focus more on applied linguistics, where academic linguistics or academic English is more focused on what the way that it should be, the way that people should speak, and we get into the difference between descriptive linguistics and prescriptive linguistics. And you have applied is usually, I consider it on one side, and then academic English is on the other, where academic it's prescribed. This is how you're supposed to speak. Nope, you said that wrong. This is how you're supposed to speak. Nope, you said that wrong. Where if we go all the way over to the other side of applied linguistics and go to descriptive speech, then it's what a lot of people speak incorrectly. A lot of things that come from the South ain't. Things that come from the south of the United States would be considered by prescriptive linguistics to be wrong, where if you talk to a linguist who is more on the side of descriptive, then that's just the way they talk, and you just need to adjust. So you need to know your focus, because if you're studying academic English, but you want to use English to travel you're gonna have a lot more frustration, or you're gonna become a lot more frustrated than if you're studying conversational English to travel. And the same thing, vice versa. If you are studying conversational English, but you want to become a university professor of English, they're gonna laugh at you basically at the university, because you'll be speaking what they consider to be incorrect. And so you need to know what it is that your focus is. And the same thing when people ask me, should I study American English or should I study British English? Well, if you want to live in London, why would you study American English? If you want to live in New York, why would you study British English? So you just need to analyze what it is that is your final goal, and then line up the things that you do to take you in that direction. Thiago, do a lot of people use trip over my own words, not trip over on? I don't know if it's correct way of making the question. Do a lot of people use? Yes, of asking the question. Remember, we don't make questions in English, we ask questions. But yeah, trip over my own words is, I've heard it quite a bit. And I think I've used it actually quite a bit as well. So yeah, that's a good expression. I like it when the teacher corrects, so I'll help you. I'll do it again since you like it, Simone. So the teacher is third person singular, so you don't forget to put the S on your verb. So I like it when the teacher corrects me. I like it when you correct me, when they correct me, when we correct me, or whatever the case may be. But if it's third person singular, he, she, it, then it's going to be corrects. Andre, teacher Willy. Sometimes the word have has the pronunciation have and half. Please, can you explain for me? Sure. So a lot of times when we have especially when we put together have to is one of those that we reduce a lot, like going to gonna, want to wanna. And let me make myself clear. These are not, I've heard people call them informal contractions. I disagree vehemently with calling these informal contractions, because contractions are okay in written English. If I write I'm, I can write I'm, or I can say I'm. If I say don't, I can say don't, or I can write don't. Reductions, however, are not acceptable in normal written English. So I can't write gonna in an email for business. I can't write wanna outside of a WhatsApp message or a Facebook Messenger message or whatever the case may be. I cannot write that because reductions are not acceptable in written English. And I want to make that clear first, because on Instagram I see that all the time. Informal reductions. I disagree completely with the term informal reductions, because we have reductions and we have contractions. So now that I've gotten that out of the way, I've wanted to say that in English for so long. Now that I've got that out of the way, let's look at have to. I have to go. So when we have I have to go, I have to whatever the verb is, many times we reduce it to have to. Have to. And that's what you're referring to. Have to. I have to go. I have to do something. I have to be there. Okay? And that's when the most common usage of have is when we're talking about have to. And then the to becomes to, and then the verb. I have to eat now. I'm so hungry. I have to eat now. Okay, so that's the most common time and usage of have to as a reduction. And then other times, like you have let's see. You have something on your face. Você tem alguma coisa no seu rosto. You have something on your face. There I wouldn't say you have something on your face, because it doesn't have that connection, doesn't have that linking sound with to, and that would be the basic explanation of that. Very good question. And that's a fantastic question, actually. Simone, thanks. Marcel agrees. I just want to learn conversation English, even though it is incorrect. Okay, so there's something we need to look at when we talk about conversational, because now we're talking about adjective. Conversational English isn't necessarily incorrect, because we have conversational English that is correct, but then we have things that are acceptable in conversational English that aren't acceptable in written English, and then we have when we get into regional dialects or familial differences or whatever the case may be, it goes from correct spoken English down to what is incorrect. So just because it's conversational doesn't necessarily mean that it's incorrect, although there is a lot of conversational English that would be considered incorrect by prescriptive linguists. But that's but I don't want you to think that just because it's conversational that it's incorrect. My mom corrected me. The reason that I became decent at English is because my mom spoke very correct English, almost in all situations. I can only remember one thing that I learned later that she taught me wrong. So thanks, Mom, I guess. But she's correct English, and she taught me correct English, and it was something that just I took to very readily. Teachers should correct us whenever they need to. I agree. I'm going to show you. Yeah, so I'm going to, future, right? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. So it's just a reduction of going to, just like wanna is a reduction of want to. Again, not acceptable in written English, but very commonly used. And this is it. So I'm gonna, I wanna, I wouldn't say that they are incorrect to use. I wouldn't say that most reductions are incorrect to use in conversational English because they're so widely used, and what ends up being widely used is then what ends up being acceptable. So I would have to do some more research on that, but to me it doesn't seem like I'm gonna go is actually incorrect, technically incorrect, because it's so widely used in spoken English. It would be, however, in written English because it is not acceptable in written English. Probably, who knows, 2 or 3 generations from now, it could be acceptable in written English as well. I actually saw a linguist that said that he believes that the language that we speak will be the same language as the reduced language in messages. The BRB, be right back, talk to you later, TTYL, that he believes it'll become so reduced that that'll be the language that we use, and that makes a lot of sense. It's definitely a possibility. You're welcome, Andre. That's what I'm talking about. The link I have to Thanks, teacher. I'm sure I'll learn a lot from you. I hope so. That's why we're here. I'm so happy to be watching this video. Well, I'm so happy you're here. Gosh dang it. Okay, any other questions? Fantastic stuff. We're going to have to do some more lives in English. This was awesome. We got more people to show up than we usually get for our Portuguese tips, so maybe I'll start doing... I might actually, tell me what you think. Would you guys show up if I did an English live once a week? If I can get 15 people to come every time I do an English live, I will continue to do an English live because it's very lively. Ooh, see what I did there? Okay, any other questions? Let's see what we've got. I actually have a meeting, so if we don't have any other questions, please give us your like and share the channel with your friends. I will already say, what is today, Monday? Next Monday, I'm going to do another English Live. So put down in your calendar, next Monday, a week from today. Today is what? I can't tell. Anybody know what the date is today? It's a week from today. Somebody tell me what the date is a week from today, will you? I know the meaning of dig, but I heard in videos people saying you dig. Does it have another meaning? Yes, it is. Yes, it does. I mean, it has the meaning of to like something or to go for something. So when you follow, do you dig that? Is it something you like? Basically, it is a way it's a way using slang to ask if someone likes something. Do you dig that? It's actually from back in the 60s or 70s, if I'm not mistaken. But I think it's one of those things that I think it's going to come back. I think it's one of those words that it's going to make its way back. I don't know if it actually has already. It could, because I've been in Brazil for a while, but so June 15th, everybody. So June 15th, Monday, June 15th, we'll be doing another live in English. So show up. I would like to know about punctuation. Yeah, that's kind of an open, there's a lot to know. Simone, send me a message. Prof. Willy Brasil, PROFWILLY BRASIL gmail, or you can send a message to aces@acesenglish.com.br, and I'll see if I can help you find some stuff about punctuation. I'm a bit anxious when I watch a movie without subtitles and I don't learn a word. I always stop the video and try and catch it. People say it's not right, but I don't know. I think it's awesome. I think obviously if you watch a movie with your girlfriend or something, she's not going to like it. But I think that's fantastic. I think because that's active watching. There's a difference between just watching something or just reading something, and active reading, active watching, which means you're not just there for entertainment, but you're there to learn. So I've been planning on for a while doing a video about active learning, active reading, active watching, and that's exactly what it is. It's where you stop and you learn and you don't just use it. Anyone who says that that's not good, I know there's the reasons behind it is that because you can't stop a normal conversation or whatever it is, but I think if that's something that you enjoy doing, because not a lot of people like that. I have a lot of students that don't want me to stop them to correct them. Not a lot, but I have some students that don't want me to stop the flow in order to correct them, and that's the way that they learn. Okay, we work with it. But I think it's much better if you are able to do that. I'm that way too. I like to, because I'm a step learner, so I like to have the steps. I like to know, okay, why? Why is this? What's this? How does it lead to that? So I'm with you 100%. I think it's good. So there you go. The 22nd will be live again. Could you repeat that again? Yes, ACES, ACES, ACES at acesenglish.com.br. Yes, I always do it when I'm watching alone. Yeah, do it, man. Go for it. I think it's awesome. I think it's a fantastic thing, and I think you'll learn a ton from it. All right, guys, I have a meeting to get to. This was fantastic. I will see you again. We will be live on Instagram tomorrow. ProfWillyBrasil, Prof Willy Brasil, Prof Willy Brazil. I will be live tomorrow on Instagram at 8:15, 2015 Brasilia time. And then we will be back in Portuguese on Wednesday, and then on Monday, what did he say it was, the 22nd? Monday the 22nd, we'll be back live in English. Watching movies doesn't help me. Why? I can understand you. And when I saw a movie or series, I feel like I don't know anything. Yeah, and that's the thing. Everybody has learning styles that are a little different. Watching movies, listening to music helps some people. Reading texts helps a lot of people. That's how Mauro Vergara has gotten rich, is with a course based on texts, from what I understand. So yeah, it helps. There are a lot of people that learn in a lot of different ways. It depends on the movie as well. That's for sure. All right, guys. Thank you very much for being here. We'll be back live in English on Monday the 22nd. Here beside me will be two videos. The video that I talked about, that is gerunds after prepositions, sorry. And then below will be a video that YouTube thinks that you will like. I will see you Monday, again, the 22nd, for one more live in English. Until then, I'm Teacher Willy. Keep studying and don't give up.